Welcome to my podcast, Teacher's Notes. It has been a while. Well, actually, it's been a week, and I've done 2 episodes last week. Almost back to back. I actually did one on a Friday, then another one on a Sunday, so trying to keep it once per week, but sometimes the weeks get to you. But anyway. Okay. This week went by fast, but it went by so much easier for me because 5 of the classes I usually have now reduced to 4, which is what I'm used to. That and having to deal with 2 other classes, but they're both like different versions of student teaching, really. They're just, one is basically fieldwork, the other is student teaching, like fieldwork. Basically, both of them are just longer chances of me being at the same place. Anyway, I digress. It has been a bit. I know I'm streaming on a Sunday, but I'm just trying to keep these episodes on a constant basis, and they give me something to do. And I'm trying to use this as a way to keep a video diary or video journal about what's been going on each week. Speaking of which, I am going to save my poetry stuff towards the end, depending on how this goes. So, I'm going to start off with a fortune. This time, dig deep this time. And they're flying all over the place. As far as there. Honor yourself, and others will also honor you. Awesome. Right. That's a good quote. That's a good fortune. Alright. So, it was week 6. And week 6 was a lot easier to tolerate than week 5, but the pressure's still on. I think this week felt really long, like a blur. Like, some days are now a blur to me, because it's been so long and it's been so exhausting, and I've had kind of an emotional week. Mostly because of things going on at home, and I'll get to maybe that in a minute, but maybe just briefly, because I want to keep things... I'll try to keep things as interesting and positive as I can, but also I just want to talk about things too, so don't expect... I'm just a human being. I'm bound to make mistakes and cringy stuff all the time. I just try to do the best I can. That's all I can do. Anyway. Let's see. Monday seems to be like a really chill day, but oh yeah, Monday we didn't have like Zoom classes. It was just asynchronous work, which I got done before I streamed right now. Long week, like I said. I'll get to that. You'll understand why. I hope. So it was mainly a chill day. I'm not sure what I remember because it was days ago. And I think it was just so chill that I forgot that I had like a meeting that day with the clinical coach. The way I can explain this is like this. The clinical coach is the person in charge of the districts or like the school you're placed in. So like certain people are in charge of certain districts, I guess. So I got placed in La Puente School District. I have a clinical coach for that who will keep in contact with my mentor teacher. So I have a block leader that keeps track of my entire classmates. I have a clinical coach that keeps track of my particular area I'm placed in. And then I have the mentor teacher that's supposed to teach me through me being in the classroom, just being with her. The best way I can explain it is it sort of starts out as a TA and then you just sort of being the co-teacher. That's the best way to explain that situation. But yeah, kind of weird on how this works, but I think it's just easier to divide the paperwork if you really turn the wheels and think about it. Anyway, I digress. I was about 8 minutes late. Good news is that it wasn't a long meeting. She just wanted to meet us, wanted to get the feel, wanted to tell us what's going on. Interestingly enough, my clinical coach is in Arkansas, is in another state. Meaning, all of the meetings are most likely 99% going to be online. And using something called GoReact. So yeah, we're doing all the virtual communications with her, and that's totally fine. Just as long as I can get through my first week, which is actually this week, since it's a Sunday. Starting Monday will be week 7. That's the week where I have my first week of dealing with my placement. Yep. So we're gonna go from a month of just being a student to now of being a student and a student teacher. Oh, joy. I'll probably talk about that as the topic, maybe not, I don't know. I'm just rolling with it here. I mentioned I was probably about 8 minutes late, if not, whatever. But yeah, I was about 8 minutes late. Yeah, I mentioned it before. Blech. I am all over the place tonight. It feels like it's been a week, so bear with me. I try not to be late for things. It's just probably been one of those weeks where I didn't even think about it and it slipped my mind with all the pressure, all the expectations, and everything laying down on me. And like, it's kind of hard to find a place to chill. And I'm trying to find moments in my time where I can do something fun and maybe like socialize or something, because I'm usually by myself, so I gotta work on that more. Anyway, but yeah, how did I manage? I would have not remembered at all if it wasn't for like one of my blockmates mentioning it. And when she mentioned the name, I'm like, the name looks familiar. I wonder if she's one of my clinical coaches. And a lot of other clinical coaches were meeting their were meeting others anyway, so I might as well check. Sure enough, that was the reason why. Sure enough, I realized I was late, logged on, and she didn't. It wasn't a big deal, thankfully. Hopefully, that doesn't make me look bad, because I swear I'm usually early or on time. But I don't know what happened. It must have been a long week. The pressure must be getting to me. I don't really know. As a college student, it really hits you, like either month 1, or like week 6, 7, or like the next month. It hits you right around close to midterms. But midterms is like finals for those that have half-term classes. They're only 10 weeks or like a limited amount of weeks. Like my classes. But the switch to student teaching, oh my gosh, my heart's like pounding because I am nervous. Anyway. Oh my word. Don't even get me started with the whole CBS thing again. But I will mention that also segues to what happened Tuesday. I got an email mentioning about the waiver, but good news and bad news is that only the good news is that it works. The bad news is only 1 out of 3 subjects were waived. So there's math, reading, and writing. They waived math, but I still have to take the reading and writing and then put it onto the waiver and then just say, hey, can I just bypass the math part now, please? Please? I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal to me because math is one of my stronger subjects, but still, come on. I already have, it would be like taking 3 tests. Why? Am I grateful that this exists? Yes. Do I hate the fact that that I don't have all the requirements for all 3 of them? I'll let you do the math. But yeah, it angered me. I tried everything. I tried looking at all the classes, and I came to the conclusion none of the classes I fit the reading or writing. I tried. Some things I just gotta deal with. Oh well. I'm just gonna be happy that I'm able to do just 2 out of the 3 at all. Because doing all 3 is a nightmare. 2 seems reasonable, and I can start studying right around, like, as soon as tomorrow. Because it is one of those things where you have to study for. I'm not sure how the bar exam for lawyers go, but it's right up there. It feels right up there for me. It's like the teacher's version of a bar exam, only you still gotta take more tests. So, I really need to see how many tests the lawyers take, because I've only heard of 1. Anyway. TLDR. Yeah, so I still have to take the test for reading and writing. It was also my parent. Hold on a second. Yep, it was that Tuesday was also the day of my parents' anniversary. They are celebrating 30 years of marriage, which is an accomplishment in itself. So, what do you do? What do they do on their anniversary? Go out and eat, of course. I wasn't invited because it's their anniversary. Why would they invite me? I'm the child. That makes no sense. Anyway, I'm not sure what exactly happened, and my notes are not very clear, because I don't remember what happened. I think I was maybe trying to cook something for dinner, and I think maybe I just decided to maybe work as like a prep for like the next meal. But I don't remember all that much. I do know that somehow I think I ordered a pizza from Postmates, like I was ordering from Blaze, and it was around 8 or 9 o'clock at night to where they close. I don't understand that, and I don't really like want to talk about it. So I was expecting a pizza. Decided to check on my phone because sometimes I'm just like looking at the phone, making sure that my order is still going. Sure enough, it was not, meaning they canceled on me, and the place was closed. So either one possibility, I believe, is that the place closed and canceled my order because they were closing and they didn't want to prepare it. Or 2, the guy that was basically going to get my order pressed the cancel button and canceled my entire order. So, those are the 2 possibilities that happened. Either way, my order got canceled. I was livid, and I was already in the midst of hangry, so it was like, not a good mix. Really bad time, and I'm just like, come on, I gotta get food in my belly, I got a shower to take, and I gotta get to bed soon. I try to go to bed at a decent hour, but it doesn't always happen. It just doesn't. Let's see. Sorry, I'm listening to instrumental right now, and I'm noticing certain tunes. I'm like, that doesn't seem appropriate. Like, that seems a little off season. Anyway. So yeah, it was just not great. Such is my luck. Okay, Wednesday. Oh. Wednesday started off with me feeling good. I walked into class and I was able to talk to my classmates. So I was in a social mood, which means to me that I'm at that comfortable place where I walk into class and I feel very comfortable with the people around me. That's a good sign that I'm letting down my guard and actually trying to bond with people. So I feel happier or just wanting to get closer as friends. I talked with one of my blockmates. I'll refer to her nickname Yessie. Yessie, and I just had a nice conversation about talking about the boys and about Ariana being the new coach. Honestly, I like Ariana as the new coach because when she's feisty too, she is here to win. And another thing is, I love her gift. It's so practical. She's someone she's a team I'm rooting for. The second would be Kelly. And those are the two so far. Anyway, I'll probably talk about that another day, but yeah. And it seems I chatted with more of my blockmates as they came in. And noticing the growth that all of us have. So remember, a couple of episodes ago, for those of you that are new, a couple of episodes ago, I know, like, maybe towards the beginning of this podcast, we're all kind of like strangers. We were, like, very, uncomfortable. Not, like, uncomfortable, but we were kind of, like, shy. Sort of. No one wanted to speak. There was just this we were all in our little bubbles in a bit. Some of us were talkative. But this time, we were all just super comfortable with one another, and everyone's kind of bonded at some point. And I think me and one of the male classmates, Gom. Yeah, me and Agam were just. I known Agam from like another class, and I still. So I was kind of surprised he was in my block, so at least we were bonding more together, and we were kind of getting used to one another. So we're kind of just used to having a conversation with each other. And I'm kind of glad we're friends, because I feel like he and I, like, feel comfortable talking to another as friends. Which is great, because I like making more friends. They are great! So that's what I've noticed, is that we are definitely more comfortable now than the beginning of September. We were so just trying to get the feel of everything. So it was just overwhelming in the beginning. Okie dokie. Then math class started because Wednesday mornings are math. We were talking about, like, guiding principles. Like, she told us what to think about our guiding principles as we were going to talk about harder subjects, like the big one, race. I am definitely getting to that, but I know it's a hot topic, and I will try to be, There is no easy way to say this. Professional, I guess you could say, as possible. Trying to keep it more, less controversial. Hopefully, anyway. I'm hoping. One of the guiding principles I picked was love, because I am a caring person by heart. Why else would I be in a field of teaching in the first place? I am very, very caring about others. So I care a lot about teaching math in different ways and different perspectives, and in a way that may seem less prejudice? Sorry, the words were floating all over the place. I'm like, anyway. Yeah, I'm caring about others and finding new ways to learn math. Because I am caring and creative. Those are two traits that I embody deeply in my soul. That's why last episode, maybe an episode before, I mentioned my vow as a teacher, or as someone to keep creativity alive, because I have always believed that since high school, and maybe even earlier than that, because I like creativity. To me equals fun. Creativity to me feels happy and light, and I can learn while in that environment. And that's what I'm trying to bring to the table when teaching. Because too many times it's structured, especially in math. Math always feels like my way or the highway, and for me, I'm like the highway because I can learn. But I still did the work anyway. I just don't like the concept of structure without fun. If there has to be structure, why can't it be fun too? Why can't we just learn math while out in the woods, maybe finding ways to use math in like a survival way of thinking? So why can't we think outside the box? Usually my question is like, why can't we do this? Why is this bad? And I think I've been challenging that ideal inside of me ever since. And I'm glad that when I got into the credentials, I feel like all of those ideals are being supported now. So it feels like I'm being heard without actually saying anything. So it feels interesting. If you believe, whatever you believe, whether it be the will, the universe saying, yeah, I collected your thoughts, or if you're religious like me and think this is God's way of answering my prayers, then yes. I'm a religious person, so I believe that God definitely has heard me a million times over and definitely has slowly changed things without me noticing. Then again, it's not that hard. Sometimes I'm not the most observant person compared to other people who are super observant. I can observe things that another person may not, but I can also be oblivious to things other people can see. A good example would be how people express. So sometimes I don't notice their behaviors right away. I don't pick that up because I keep this ideal of trying to be a nice person, so I don't really think about all the negative stuff happening. But other people will probably notice it before me. And that's totally fine, because that shows my character. Anyway, what else? Okay. While we were doing group works, we were working on how to do fractions. sort of like how to solve fractions and like word problems. So while I was dealing with the word problem, I was just looking at the problem more realistically. So it's like, how many of these candies will you put in a bag? Like, how much candy will be in the bag? I thought in a more realistic point of view. So I just drew circles and then just did like the fractions that I believe would be on there, because it was a more realistic problem solving sort of question, which is the kind of person I am. You give me a problem, I'll try to solve it. And it felt more realistic in real life, because that would be something I would do. I would try to figure it out, especially if I missed something. I would definitely go back and check it. Like, that's just how I am. So I like the fact that it has more practicality in the way math is right now, because it's definitely not what I grew up with. I like the change math I'm seeing, but some people may not understand why that change. I would be in that position of, why are we changing math? If you don't tell me the reason, I will be frustrated, because it feels like we're changing math for no reason. But if you give me the actual reason, it will make sense to me if it's logical. If you actually back this up with fact. If you just make sense to me, then we'll be fine. Sorry, I'm doing the notes here. So while my classmates were drawing squares, I was drawing circles. Which I wondered, it made me think, is this a sign of how I think? I'm transitioning back to the point. And it made me wonder, because it felt symbolically of how I think. I think in a more rounded sort of way, while others think like a box, which shows I don't think like anyone else. I think in terms of realistic problems. I think in terms of how I can make this look or work. Like, what do I see in this problem and how can I solve it? Some people think algebraically, which is not really in my wheelhouse of thinking. I can think if I want to, but I think in more, there's a problem, where's the solution? There's a problem, let's find the solution. And I think of other possibilities. If I'm ever going back to playing games again, and if I'm playing choice-based games, you'll probably notice how I think. Because if I'm thinking out loud, I am thinking in terms of what is the best decision in both perspectives. So if we're going to go with Mass Effect, that one choice between two people, you have to choose between the one person near the bomb and another person getting ambushed. And you're just like, there is no easy answer to that one. You're kind of just left with very, very few options. Like, it can come down to, which character do you like the most? That's so sad as that. Or, like, which would be more realistic, which would be more beneficial. You're dealing with a hard choice that, first of all, no one should have to make, because that is a hard choice call. That is a hard call to make, no matter how you look at it, and it was not easy. And I have played all three. No, I've not played Andromeda. Don't ask me. But, yeah. Anyway. My point is that I think more of, if I had two options, what is all of the options? But if I had to think on the spot, whatever comes to mind is whatever comes to mind. But if I do have time, I will think of all my options. because I like taking my time and I like making the right decision because I always want to get the good ending first. I struggle with wanting to see the bad endings because I don't have it in my heart to see it. I don't. Anyway, I am getting way off topic, and yeah, basically. On my notes, it's like all these that I just highlighted, I think more creatively and realistically, and yeah, that's basically me, and I basically touched on that. Then we talked more about racism in math. Now, okay, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, just look it up online, but I will give you the summary of it. There has been some bias in like prejudice, justice, and math. Math has been used as a form of as a tool of control. I can think of one example is when people are trying to test other people, such as such as race. They use the concept of math to do that as a tool of control, as a tool of showing intelligence, which that enough in its own is its own problem. Because you're using math to try to control people, you're also using intelligence to try to put labels in the same thing, when some people have said, you can't really define intelligence logically, because everyone thinks differently, everyone has a different perspective, so there's not a logical cookie cutter. There's no one-size-fits-all way of saying of intelligence. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And there's this concept, it's not a concept, this thing that they say is the achievement gap. And certain races have gaps between others, statistically. I'm not gonna say which because I don't want to get into that converse. I'm trying to keep it less controversial as possible. And try to keep it as fact. And the article and what we talked about was maybe it's not an achievement problem, it's more towards how we teach the material, which is even more complicated, because how we teach the topic as teachers is super important. So it gave the idea that we're putting blame on one thing when really we need to look at the overall picture, which is we're blaming race when it's really a teaching problem. These gaps are basically how society views intelligence and how we view education overall. If there is a big gap in certain areas, there is a bigger problem. And I've known this for a while, that education has been a big problem. That teachers are not getting well paid, which to me sounds like they're not getting the respect they deserve financially. I feel like society now respects more teachers, but if we're talking about more of the bigger picture, people with power, their main priority is not on education. It's not. It's on something else. Not the education where it can be helpful. Personally, why I wanted to go into teaching is if you really want to make a big impact on changing the future for the better, you gotta go to the roots. You gotta teach the young generation the lessons you've learned so they don't make the same mistakes you did. Because I believe you teach a student right, they grow up to be a great person. That person could be in power. That student could go big. And if that person goes big, they will go all the way back into their memory lane and think, what one teacher that pushed them, that inspired them, and that allowed the seeds to be planted to where grow into a fabulous tree. That's what I believe. Is that you can change the future with teaching. But it starts by teaching them lessons that, one, are appropriate, two, are beneficial to them. So you could say teaching the right lessons, but it doesn't feel right to say that. More like teaching lessons that are helpful, beneficial, that will make that grow and better and everything else. And yeah, it was a really hard topic in class to talk about, but it gave a bigger idea is that I never noticed that there is a problem of how we teach math and how we're not really giving the idea of choice or allowing we're not giving the idea of not just choice, but allowing them to try to solve the problem. Because as teachers, we're getting into that idea of they can't solve the problem without me situation. It's like, you think you have to teach the problem or the solution when you haven't really given the students a chance to really solve the problem. You haven't really given them a chance to really attempt it. That struggle may be uncomfortable for you as a teacher, but that's kind of the point a little bit, is that through struggle we learn. And if we're too caught up in the safety zone, we're not getting anywhere. Which is why we keep passing this concept of get used to being uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is a place you're gonna be familiar with for the rest of your time. You have to be comfortable with uncomfortable. You have to be able to just accept the fact that you are going to be uncomfortable in a situation like that, where you may not be comfortable with letting the students figure it out without your help. That doesn't mean you can't gently suggest or guide them, such as if they say about the wrong answer, don't say it's wrong. Just say that's why we think that might be a mistake, why we think this might be wrong, or and just maybe if they suggest that, then that's then that teaches them what have we learned from why do we think this is wrong, why do we think this is not the answer. So kind of just using questions to kind of help them guide to the answer. It's kind of annoying to some people, but I find it to be helpful because you're kind of just encouraging them to think. Which is kind of the point, is that you want students to learn from your lessons, but also think. I mean, yeah, you could just sit by the board, you could stand by the board and lecture all day, but that's not really helpful to younger kids. No, younger kids, especially in preschool, their limited is probably low more than 30 minutes. Maybe less. You might be able to retain it a little bit more in elementary, but that really depends. Whew. Anyway, moving on to what happened after class. I mainly just went on errands because I was able to go home afterwards, so I decided to go exploring around the area for what I needed. And I was getting notebooks for student teaching because I was planning on writing all the things down that happened. 1, so I can keep track of everyone's names. 2, so that I can keep track of what happens every single day. 3, so I have something to talk about on here in this podcast. And 4, I like the idea of writing things down. It's just how I am, it's how I think, and it's how I just do things. So hopefully I'm just gonna get through this week by just trying to get the feel of the classroom and then going from there, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing right now except doing all I can to help and doing what I can to either unburden the teacher or just taking responsibility. My mom taught me this. At least that's what she always tells me in stories, is that when she's at work, she never sits still. She's always doing something because she wants to make use of her time. And that's the kind of ideology I'm taking. Anyways, I'm viewing of tracking it. But I will say this. That it took me a while to find everything I needed. So after I got the composition books, I was looking for oils, like essential oils, to help me relax and focus. If you want to know, I use lavender to help me relax. I use eucalyptus to help kind of blend the scents to make it smell a little bit nicer and also to help breathe. So it will definitely help if you're like nervous or you need something to help you with breathing. It's actually one of the more common things to help when you have a cold and you need that thing to help you breathe. If you haven't known what that scent is, yes, that is eucalyptus. And the last one is rosemary, but I also use like focus-based oils. And they're like super helpful and effective. I use them almost every night. I like to think it helps build my focus later on in the day. At least I like to think so. But hey, it was worth a shot. I use it to also the focusing to help with my ADHD, which is what I have. I like to think that's helpful for me right now. And that's just how I think. Everyone is different. Everyone has a different approach. And I already talked about this in previous episodes. Go check it out in my YouTube channel or somewhere in like my highlights. I just keep all of the streamed ones, like all of it, not totally edited. So go ahead and check it out. Should be there. Anyway. So after I got everything, so I got the oils in a different place. I managed to get home, and I was really feeling the stress. It was hitting me. It was hitting hard, and I needed to take a nap and de-stress. And after that, I felt more comfortable. But I wanted to do one little thing at a time because that was just how I'm able to process at that point. The thing is, if I'm listing every single thing that I'm thinking about at that point, I would be exhausted, drained, and then wanting to go to sleep. Because thinking of every single possible responsibility is like pulling many weights on top of my back until the point where I'm collapsed. And that's at that point I was at that collapsed state. And the best thing I could do at that point was just to try to take it one step at a time. So yeah, definitely. I just definitely needed to unwind a little bit. After that, I'm moving on to Thursday. The only thing notable on Thursday was that I had a bit of drama with my family. Okay, it's not like drama where they recognize it, it's more like drama that is subtle. Kind of like that underlying backhanded compliment or that, like, a statement that feels like an insult. Those are the kind of things I mean. Like, I notice it, but they probably don't. Either way, I'm not getting into too many details about that, but I'm just saying that it caused my mood to go way down, and also my anger to go a bit up. I just kind of, like, needed to talk to my friend Tori about it. She helped reassure me, and it gave me comfort to know what's really going on. But yeah, it also, when we transitioned to Friday, I just woke up with a very depressed mood. I was not really feeling great. I was just sad. And it's kind of annoying when you're walking into class and you just have this sad mood on your face and you're depressed and you just want to get rid of it. At that point, usually when I'm sad, I think I'm in a corner. But I think at that point, I wanted comfort so badly, I went to a different spot than I usually do, which is not normal for me because I usually stick to that spot and I'm committed to that spot in the room, even if it's an inconvenience. No, at that point, my main instinct was sit to the nearest person. I want to talk to people. That's how bad I needed to talk to someone. And it was mainly just I wanted to bond with someone. I wanted to just talk. And it really helped change the mood from sad to, like, conversing. And it made me feel comfortable and made me feel better. Which is great because that doesn't usually happen to me. Where I'm, like, needing to talk to someone. Just, like, have a conversation. I think maybe the pandemic has changed my outlook on people. Because sometimes I'm, like, a little bit, like a turtle and kind of closed up a bit. Like, I'm kind of, like, keep my distance from people. But now I think after being stuck at home for so long, yeah, my mood's just like, I'm in a depressed mood. I want to talk to someone. That's how I am. So we talked about assignments. I talked about my morning so far, and what I've have going on in some projects, such as making the villain city that I need to finish making off stream, so that way I can get to the interaction eventually, hopefully. But motivation, blah blah blah. Things are just going all over the place. So Friday morning class. I don't think I'm going to talk about that. I don't feel like talking about it. What I will talk about is the concept of citations in third grade. I heard that in class, and I'm just thinking, wait, we're citing at third grade? I don't remember doing that in third grade. I remember having to read chapter books, not knowing how to make a citation or how to do essays. I'm still a little uncomfortable about that. I mean, the idea of building a paragraph at, like, second, third grade, I'm not sure how comfortable I feel about that. Like, yes, the whole math thing makes sense, because there's some logic behind it, there's reason behind it, and I like that. But teaching that at a young age? That would be more like junior high, 6th grade at least. That would make more sense to me than second or third grade. I don't know who's dealing with the formatting of, like, yeah, we should be teaching citation at a young age. I get the understanding of, give credit where credit is due. But if we're talking about, like, citations of like what college students deal with. You're crazy. Like, hell no. I don't think it's formatted like that. I think it's maybe just by this person and going by their name or something. But if there's like a little bit close to just citing a textbook, yeah, I got problems with that. Like, serious problems with that. Yeah, like, tilted. Because that basically would tell me, why are we teaching that at a young age? We don't need to be this specific right now. They just need to learn how to... They're still learning English. They're still learning how to structure English and concept of stories. It's been a while since I've been in 4th grade, okay? It's been a while since I've been in 4th grade. It's been a while since I've been in elementary school. And I don't have too many memories of that. I wonder if those might come back the more I'm in elementary school. Might mention that in a future episode, if that happens. Something to think about. But yeah. Oh, now I'm going to talk about the important part of this episode is the title. Concept of boundaries. Now, in an education standpoint, as a teacher, you have to talk to parents. Especially those toxic parents that are going through a terrible time. Possibly, like, their child could be... one of the parents could be in jail, the other could be away, or dealing with a terrible, ugly divorce. Especially the terrible, ugly divorce. I'm not mentioning it on here, but I've heard about a terrible divorce story in class. Oh my gosh. But let me give you something to think about. Let's say there are two parents who really are married and are kind of like separated, and separated and divorce are two different things. So they're separated, meaning this child has to go through both parents' houses. And it's kind of the idea of the parents are just trying to deal with their problems through the scapegoat of the child. Kind of like they're not dealing with this directly, they're dealing it indirectly. And the teacher's the middle person dealing with all of it. And teachers are usually the moderator standpoint of all this. Anyways. This is where you need to understand the concept of boundaries as a teacher. And Tori always tells me, she taught me the phrase of not my circus, not my monkeys. You had to tell them professionally that I'm not gonna handle all of your toxic weirdness. Okay? If I was a teacher, I'd be like, look, I don't want to deal with your toxicity. I don't know what's really going on here, but it's not professional for me. This is not professional. This is starting to get personal. So, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Something along those lines. Probably a little bit better worded, but yeah, you're gonna need to build a sort of boundaries. Like, stand your ground a little bit, but professionally. To where you don't have to raise your voice. All you have to do is say the right words, or maybe express the right way of, look, this is where I stand in all this. This is beyond what I can do. So you're either going to talk about me professionally, or you're going to need to come back later in a clear head, because I can't deal with whatever this is. Because it is not professional for me. That's as simple as that. And to me, I don't think the concept of boundaries really came into mind yet. Now, how will I be able to handle this? I think I can handle this quite well. Because I know how to tolerate toxic conversations without trying to get too emotional these days. And that's a good thing, because sometimes you need to have a backbone and to stand your ground, like plant your feet and just be like, no, they're not pushing me off this mountain. I'm standing right here. This is where I stand. But there's also the concept of walking away. That's very powerful, even if you think you're like running. But if you're constantly in an argumentative conversation and it's not really healthy, why stay? If you can remove yourself from the situation, do it. If it helps you feel better, then yes. Now, if we're going to go with drawing boundaries in general, especially in your love life, yeah, there needs to be that concept of friend and, like, if we're going with lover, like between boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, or significant other, it's really hard to find gender inclusive or gender fluid. I'm hoping that's the right terminology. Gender fluid terminology that defines that. I think I just used the word lover to help with the difference, like, or significant other, your boo. I think that would be the more modern term for it. Anyway. And the thing about that is, I think it's hard for people to draw boundaries because the people I'm surrounded by are usually really nice people, but some of them don't have, like, some people don't know how to draw those boundaries because people are too nice. And I used to be in that position, but I knew where the line was drawn, but I didn't do it enough. Because I would get in toxic conversations with some people, mainly in my family, and I would have to, like, walk away because I did not want to have to deal with it. And I think there came to be a concept where I have to walk away from the conversation to save my mental health from getting worse. Like, extremely worse, mind you. It's really hard to also draw the line in a workplace situation, because if you're a teacher and you have to talk to the parents, for me, I'm guessing the main is that you care about the students, but you also care about trying to make the family happy and trying not to be the reason to split apart or to cause drama. You're trying to help the student not make things worse. So yeah, the idea of drawing the line in the sand or drawing those boundaries, like healthy boundaries, is important, especially if you are dealing with ugly conversations. But like I said, boundaries is one of the harder things I think people struggle with, is knowing where the boundaries are. And it's usually the first thing you have to, like, understand growing up is, where are the boundaries? Where are the limitations? Especially if you're like in a video game, you want to know where the limitations are. Excuse me a moment. And I'm back. Sorry for that brief moment. But this also gives me a chance to segue into Something else. Oh yeah. While I was in Friday morning class, one of my classmates wanted to know how to introduce poetry into her students. Now, I didn't know what grade level she was placed until later, but I tried to give her advice of how to do it because I did it for a lesson like a few weeks ago, like last week. No, yeah, a few weeks ago, basically in the beginning of middle September, and she was placed in like TK. Now it's perfectly understandable that she didn't she took note of it and will use it for like earlier for when she's placed with older children, like older grade levels, which is fine. But I told her like you could like keep that in mind for TK because like have them keep in mind that not all poems rhyme and not all of them are short. That's all she can. That's all I can see being done. And mind you, when I did this twice, I had a limited amount of students. So of course, that limitation was just based on like limited interaction and with not like too many other students to distract them. It really was easy for them to understand. So if I'm teaching this lesson to fourth graders in a real classroom in real time, I have no idea how this is going to work. I'm not even sure if I'm going to even implement this in the classroom right then and there. I need to be comfortable with the classroom first. I need to get used to the feel. I need to get used to the names. And I am hoping I can leave a good impression because I do not want to have what happened last time. Because I remember my first time doing like something close to this. Not like more like for a different class and whatever, different time. Not the point. I remember a student hating me. That hit me. Still hits me right now that I was a terrible influence. Or like I wasn't good enough. And I'm using that as a way of saying I am not going to do that again. And I'm learning from my mistakes. See, I told you that I'm that the math lesson was important. The concept of learning, using mistakes as a learning lesson. So I'm going to use that as a teaching lesson for me of trying to put myself out there and doing what I can. Because at the end of the day, that's what I do. So over Discord, I was mainly explaining to her as best as I could with words. Because when you're trying to text and you're trying to talk, the words kind of lose translation somewhere when you're typing things up. So it's a little hard, a little tricky. So it's kind of like the modern day version of passing notes in class, but I feel it was helpful. And it was still on topic. I was still talking about lessons and how to help her and everything, so that's great. I also talked about the idea of missing the opportunity of learning more than one language. When you're a bilingual student, bilingual, you have the idea of missing the opportunity to speak two languages. That's what I'm. Jeez, my nose is like wanting to sneeze or something. I don't know. It just feels itchy sometimes. Anyway. I'm guilty. Because I never. I guess I never understood the value of learning Spanish. Or if I did, I don't know if I took it to heart. Like, I wanted to learn Spanish and I could have, but my parents always told me that learning another language would have been harder for me since English was another difficulty. But if I had not listened to my parents and just taken a Spanish class and done it anyway and put in the time and effort, I may have just been able to learn Spanish by now. Be able to switch from Spanish to English, maybe. Yeah, definitely so. I guess I had a lot of thought when I typed that down, but I can't really think of that other than how it's a very missed opportunity, especially for me, because I would have loved to learn Spanish. I would have loved to have that in my belt because it would definitely have given me more jobs. Because being bilingual has become super, super important to where people like me that only have one language under their belt is just being pushed aside. No one's gonna want to hire someone who doesn't speak another language or has lack of work experience. But my argument is, how can I get experience if no one's gonna hire me? That's kind of a double standard. And it's very frustrating when you want, like, some small businesses didn't even call me back, didn't even text. I could have done something, but there's only so much you can do. But I digress. Maybe the opportunities I have in these random placements might give me some kind of, I don't know, foot in the door of another place. I don't know. But maybe we'll get a job opportunity. Go from there. Never know. Skip that one. Save it for a rainy day. There's an interesting fact I learned in Friday's morning's class. Did you know that dentists, when they put fish in their waiting rooms, it's actually meant to be relaxing? It's meant to help ease anxiety. Which makes sense, because when you're looking at fish, it relaxes you. For me, when I look at the water and the sea and the beach, it's relaxing to me, so it has a similar effect, so I can understand this logic way more. Then after that, I just slept and took a nap and woke up as if all of the emotional roller coaster just faded away. Also, I'm going to mention that Saturday, my parents went on a little day for a day, just went to San Diego. They leave me home alone, and I decided to do some housework and just put like a face mask on and just chill. It was like meant for de-stress at first, like relieving like the stress in like your face, and oh my gosh, my face was so smooth. I'm definitely getting that product again, maybe like the end of this month. So annoying. Right. I was also watching Minecraft Championships, right? MCC Rising, which stands for Minecraft Championships. They just call it MCC Rising or MCCR. It flows so much better in a sentence anyway. Personal opinion. Not personal. It's my personal opinion in this case. I usually just go on YouTube and watch a lot of like stuff talking about the Dream SMP, the Outsiders SMP, or the Bear SMP. Yes, I'm an SMP craze. I like a good story, I like a good flow, and I just kind of like the idea that it feels like theater, but gaming. Ew. Hand sanitizer. Hands sanitized. Oof, oof. This is just to help cool them off. Anyway. And I was excited for MCCR because it's regular MCC but with smaller streamers. So I would be considered a small streamer because I don't really have a lot of followers. You can click that follow button if you want. That would be nice. But yeah, basically, it's just like small streamers and that play Minecraft and that can just apply and whatever. I heard about it and I watched regular MCC and I was just curious about what we're gonna do next. I was curious about MCCR. So I was finally able to get a chance to watch it. Not live because I was busy, but towards the night I was able to watch it from like one of the team's perspective, and I was watching from this person's perspective, and this person being Owen's Juice TV. I just wanted to see from his perspective. He seems very nice, and also I've been watching the Outsiders SMP for a while, so I was just curious about how this is going to go for him. They didn't win. They got in 4th place. That's a pretty big accomplishment. And MCC in the Minecraft community is huge. So the fact that they got in at all, they got in 4th place, that was enough for him. I mean, that was like big thing. That was just like the fact I got in at all, the fact that I got here, that's fine. Like just being grateful for that. Which is a good mindset, because may not win everything. But if you see the bright side of it, makes it less makes the loss less hurtful, or it makes the sting less. Anyway, Saturday was just a really good day to just not think about school, but just sit down and feel like myself again. And I needed that. Without really thinking about it, I just decided to take a me day. I was gonna focus on more of the housework and then get some work done, but I guess I just decided to say, maybe I'm just gonna do a me day. Back. Ugh. Excuse me, I was trying to blow my nose because my nose keeps itching and I wonder why. But yeah, that's all I really have right now. So yeah, my week was really all over the place. I really don't know how this week is gonna go. But I think I'm going to end by reading one of these poems I actually submitted as a final project. And I think I'm gonna mention like a few of them. Aha. Yes, this. Yep, that's my poem collection. So it goes something like this. The Magician and His Shadow. So, for context, this is based off of a story I've kept since childhood, and I'm basing it off of one of the characters right now. So at this point, this is from his perspective, and it's based off of a short story of the same thing, but in a collection of poems instead, and how I made them all different. Or tried. So, we're gonna get to the first two, and then we're gonna go from there. Because I don't know how much time that'll take. Okay. Bryce's note. Now, this is completely made up. So from the Bryce's perspective is that this is his final project. So like this is his final, is making a creative project. He decided to make a collection of poems to give to his teacher instead of having to do a regular English test. Dear Miss Jem and any other readers, you'll be reading a series of poems that all tell my story. This story is the truth. I did a series of poems for my final project as requested by my English teacher, Miss Jem. She decided against a traditional test and give us a creative project instead. It was a hard year, and the thought of doing a regular test didn't seem suitable. So the project was mainly to write a story in any form possible that we learned thus far. It had to be about us, the students. I decided to tell my story in the form of poems because these moments were real for me, and the feelings I feel from those days still linger to this day. In my collection of poems, I tried to make them all different in some way, and that was mainly the hard part. What happened really did happen. So as you read, know that if you're going through something similar, don't take it all on your own, because I nearly made the same mistake. And if I had made that mistake, I wouldn't be telling you the story as I am, right as I'm writing this note to all of you. Enjoy reading these poems. Best wishes, Bryce Bell. Here's the first one. I Am Bryce Bell by Bryce Bell. That is my name. I'm 18 years old. I'm a senior in high school. I'm a good student. I'm someone everyone looks up to. I'm a part of a wealthy family. I come from a long line of inventors, thinkers, entrepreneurs, and so on. I am the oldest of 5 children. I try to look after my siblings. I am the next in line to the throne. I am learning the family ways. I also have magical powers over light and shadow. I have issues with my powers and myself. I have so much burden that it's hard to carry alone. I deal with all of this in my head. It swims with voices I either hear or barely hear. It causes tons of stress that hurts my mind. I twist and turn, each night plagued by nightmares. If my stress consumes me, then soon the shadows will too. I control my light and my shadow, but even my mind has limits. In my mind are desires and burdens that not many cared to ask about while I still had control. The Burdens I Carry by Bryce Bell. I walk around with voices telling me what to expect, how I should act, how I should be, but no one knows the problems that lingers within me. The fear of failing everything lingers still. If I fail, will everyone hate me? If I fail, will I be cast out? As darkness looms, they whisper my fears. I am a bad brother. I am a goody two-shoes. I'll never live up to the greatest of my ancestors. The greats of my ancestors. Excuse me. Trying everything to be great. Keep up with all my homework, for I have to be perfect. I can't make a mistake. Mistakes ruin the family name. My mind swallows doubt and fear like pills. They are addicting. When I sleep, the burdens of life carries. Piles on until I feel dread. Until I hear the soft voice, trying to calm me. It's so sweet that I cry. I sleep in this way. Until I wake to tackle the day again. Again where the voices judge me. Again where I have to be perfect. Why can't I be me? Why? I know not, but I'm losing my magical grasp as I think. This is called a, that's the word, prose poem. Meaning a poem doesn't always look like a poem, so. Bit of a little free lesson for you. Let's see, how am I doing on time? I can't tell from here. Okay, I'm good on time. Alright. We're good. We're fine. We're great. Okie dokie. The Shadow Dream. One dark night, as I lie my head to rest, I dream not the normal kind. My powers of light and darkness affect the depths of my mind. Burdens, stress, deep dark secrets lie in the shadows of my mind. Balance is needed to keep both light and shadow in check. If unbalanced, then shadows roam freely until the mind and eventually in life, controlling their masters until the master is the puppet. Then the shadows really master the life they want, that their own puppet once their master could not have. Some say they are the dark strangers, others say they are dark parts of their soul. I say it is my twin. A dark twin I fear will come out. I once heard someone referencing them as demons. But all are opinions in the shadow, to the shadows they see. What I'll tell you is something out of a ghost story you would tell around a campfire. So that one dark night was when my dark twin came to be. Dreams are funny little things. They're not completely controlled by us, but by a part of the mind that wanders. Is it a part of us that is meant to be? Is it who we really are that we are not aware of quite yet? I have wondered that time and again. So my dreams is linked to the shadows this night, and the wonders of the light, a plane between thought and reality, a place of dream and shadow. I wandered to this place lured by a voice I knew too well, but as a fool, I went anyway. I went to this place that drew the line between dream and shadow, light and darkness. There the voice spoke to me, telling me that it could help me ease my burdens, ease my stress, and everything that weighs me down. All I had to do was give this voice a name. A name has meaning and power. It gives identity and life. A powerful magic I knew well enough not to do, but the voice was cunning. The darkest part of my thoughts did think of a name. D.T., Dark Twin. But this voice thought of something better. Doyle Tavis. Doyle means dark stranger, and Tavis meant twin. I knew not why, but we talked more about what I really wanted. This was my problem, for I knew not. The voice called Doyle now came to me with a look that was me but not, a form of who I desired to be in life. Only many things held me back. Doyle knew who I wanted to be, and he took that desire and made it his own. But that wasn't the worst part of this dream. He sang a song that was filled with dark magic, magic that pulled me in a trance. He told me to let him exist and let him appear in the real world. Luckily, only in the city known as Elemental City, the very city I call home. Once he appeared in life, I knew I unleashed something that I knew would be my downfall. What did Doyle wanted, you ask? What did Doyle want, you ask? Simple. To let me be his puppet. A puppet to pull the strings. Only I would need a blade to cut the strings to be free from him. The moment I set him loose was the beginning of a terrible plan I almost let happen. That I almost let consume me because of how young and foolish I was that time. Looking back now is like seeing old pictures of yourself, wondering where you were thinking at those times. Only my shadow, known to be Doyle, knew how to gain my trust. This was the beginning of the puppet, soon to be the master. But I'm here to tell you this story. I am still Bryce, and Doyle still remains as my shadow. So how did I overcome this problem? That, my friends, leads to a sad but creepy part of my tale. Okay, how are we doing on time? Yeah, I think I can finish this up. Doyle's arrival. He appeared at the mansion I call home. No one knew why, but he was trustworthy. However, he was a clever wolf in the body of a human. A cunning wolf seeking out his prey like some old cartoon. We spoke for a bit, understanding what happened. The dream was Will, and his powers are too. He told me that thoughts like mine breed shadows like him, each different and unique. Doyle told me that my stress, my burdens, my secrets were his. The dark parts of my mind were what gave him power. Unlike many dark twins, he was patient. A trait that is scary to have in the wrong hands. Doyle started simple and helped me with little things. School, family, and life eventually. Life was a little easier with him around. Oh, but that was the clever part. He planned to help me as a way to let my guard down. When he gained my trust, he gained access to my mind. All he had to do was whisper and I would obey in my sleep. The first night he got me to hurt my sister Rose. She was the younger member of my family. Thank the stars she knows how to defend herself. She thought I was sleepwalking, but it was Doyle controlling the walking. I had no clue to this. The second night he tried again. He wanted to hurt Rose, but alas, fate had other plans. I was told in my sleep to poison Rose, but it got to my father instead, and when I heard, I panicked. Thankfully now he's still alive. Doyle knew that I was aware of his power, and that it was growing. I was losing it, losing all. Checking on time. The meaning of balance. What have I done? What have I done? I've been so stressed, so burdened, that I have unleashed my shadow. Let him take over my life. Fear and panic were thoughts consuming me like a black hole. Getting worse and worse until Eric comes. He is the second oldest in the family. Quiet but strong with the earth and nature. Fitting how he appears when I am losing it. He sits and looks to me, wondering what is wrong. Wondering what is going on with his big brother that no one knows. He lends his ear to me, knowing I need one, as my mind is plagued with lunch. He listens as I tell my tale and my burdens, along with my shame I brought to our family. Eric did not judge, but instead helped me. He gave me a black tourmaline that he had in his hands. The stone was granted with powers to guide me, to help me, to inform me with wisdom, which were carved in the stone. My brother told me that nature has balance, a symbol he used in the stone. He has burdens of his own, but I love his family. Should be that he loves his family. Enough to not let it get to him. He says running from Doyle is like a dog chasing its tail. There is no point. It would only be in circles. I should face him and take my life back. I should accept that Doyle is a part of me, but also need to see that my life is mine, and I can control in any way I see fit. With this in mind, I seek him out. Oh, you're good. Battling myself. The words of my brother echoed in my head. Still holding the stone he gave me, I knew he was right. Doyle was me, so to find him I lured him like bees to honey. Found Doyle I did, which was both good and bad. Doyle knew what I wanted and used his biggest weapon on me. Words. The same words I've heard all these years. I fight back with words of my own. A clever wolf Doyle was, because he knew how to bring me down. Words were beating me, making me his puppet. I fell for his trap like a mouse to cheese. No! I heard my brother cry out. 1 minute I'm trapped, the next I'm not. I see Eric face him, but why? Why go so far to face Doyle? Bam! With a rock. Swoop! Went Doyle to dodge it. My head moved back and forth like watching a tennis match before my eyes. Doyle had the upper hand. He went after my brother, nearly ending his life. No more, I said to my dark twin. I gave a speech, but words were hopeless. I wanted to win and end this madness. People have suffered in this disaster I summoned. Time to take responsibilities for my actions and my mistakes. I fought Doyle, knowing that it was going to be a bloody mess at the end. Tensions high. I gave a punch, then a kick, fought with a blind rage. Doyle fought to survive, thinking he has this fight in his hands, but he was dead wrong. The fight felt like an action scene from a movie. In the end, though, we were both out of breath. Doyle tried to tell me that he was the better one, the one that should take my place, but he was wrong. Doyle thought his fate was death. He is me, so his fate was his fear. I used a spell to bind Doyle as my familiar. I can't be rid of him, but I can use him. The dust settles. The fight was tense. It drained me of everything I am as Bryce. Doyle went back to the shadows where he roams. With nothing left to fight or suppress, I fall. Down, down, down. I hit the ground with the world, and the world fades away. I sleep for days, maybe even weeks, the longest rest of my life. I managed to gather the will to hold Doyle in his place. Then I wake to bed in a hospital, a place I did not expect to wake. The whole family was there, from my brother to my sisters, and even my parents. I was shocked and happy to see them. I was too weak to confess. Eric told my tale with honesty and confidence. They all were surprised and glad I won a battle within myself. Rose and Eric forgave me, while others were not ready to yet. My dad, thankfully, not one of them. Same with my mother. I had to stay in the hospital for months. My body was beaten twice over. A feeling I hope I never get to experience again. Everyone's hopes for my recovery each time they visit. But each night as I sleep, I dream easily now. I was certain of my path, who I wanted to be. Doyle did help me beat the darkness, beat the dark thoughts, the lingering doubts and fears head on. One night I saw him again, thanking him. Taken back, Doyle was uncertain. Doyle knows that the argument I made was fitting. In return, he helped me figure out life, and this time watch over me instead of use me. Life was better than before. The path was clear, and I made a new friend. A friend I hope will aid me in my time of need. This is my tale, my story, my life as Bryce. This, that, done. Sure, yes. Okay. I just need to make sure. Okay. The rest is just what I did for class. Nothing to see here. Okay. Done. Okay. And, well, that's about it. Yep, that's how I'm gonna end this with the story. If you like hearing more stories, then I'll probably do more. If not, I'll probably do some more anyway. Either way, I've gotta go. I've got school tomorrow, so can't be on for long. It's a bit shorter than the others, but that's fine. Anyway, bye!